Share it with the rest of the world.
Why, good morning, Tara.
Hello.
Hello.
Good morning. Welcome to
Ah,
Coffee Chat.
Welcome
Welcome.
to another
Well,
Friday morning coffee chat. I'm Rachel Friedman here with Tara Morgan. I'm in Washington, D.C. She's across the country in Washington State. And we get together every Friday morning to talk all things rowing. So, like the banner says, say hello, tell us where you're from. Even if you're watching this later, leave us a message. We'd love to know who's watching and where you are.
yeah, for sure. And special hot tip, Coffee Chat next week will be live from the Charles River in Boston.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. So many things to say about that. But I'm excited, Tara, to be in Boston because, Massachusetts is really like my home state. That's where I spent a big chunk of my growing up, and
Yeah.
it holds a real special place in my heart. And I love when you and I are not in little boxes on screens, but you and I are together, like actually seeing each other face to face, and we can, clink our coffee mugs.
Yes, yes, that's the best part because we work well together virtually, and it's even more fun when we're together. So
So much more
hopefully,
fun.
we'll meet a lot of great people, and I hope it's good weather. I haven't even looked, but whatever. Can't do anything about it if it's not. Whatever.
Yeah. I was talking to
Good.
someone, one of the novices on our team a couple days ago about going up to Boston. He was like, "Oh, it's awful. Why would you want to go? It's gonna be so cold." And I said, "Where are you from?" And he said, "LA." And so, if you're from LA, rowing in Boston in the fall probably is not at the top of your list of things to do. But generally the weather is fallish and cool. You just bundle up. It'll be a great time.
Yeah. Why not? Why
Yeah.
not? Sophie's watching. Hi, Sophie.
Hi,
She's
Sophie.
on Facebook. That's awesome. Yeah. So I guess I'll look a little bit closer. I fly out Thursday morning, and I guess I'll look at the weather a little bit closer, like Tuesday or something. But
Yeah.
um,
I'm
I'll
just
see.
assuming somewhere between like 30 and 50 degrees, somewhere in that range
Jesus,
for the
that's cold.
30 would
Jeez.
be
Okay.
30 would be really cold. I'd be surprised if it was that cold, but you never know with some breezes.
I gotta
But
rethink this. Holy cow. I gotta rethink this. I'm thinking 60, and you're
ooh,
telling, but now I'm
I
remembering that sort of bite cold that Boston is.
yeah,
If anybody watching has done any
yeah,
sort of weather forecasting for next weekend, Sophie, maybe you've done
yeah.
it in preparation. But um, yeah, I think I'm underthinking this. I need to
Yeah,
be
hold I'm
packing.
gonna I'm gonna I'm gonna take a quick look at, Boston, but, I mean, 60s when it's nice, like, that's a really nice weather report for Boston this time of year.
Yeah,
Anyway, I would say, you want your layers. You're gonna want your tights, you're gonna want some long sleeves, you're gonna want a sweatshirt, you're gonna want a winter
uh-huh,
hat, maybe even
right.
definitely a winter coat for early mornings and late evenings, and just layers.
Definitely.
Huh?
Oh, I
Yeah,
know.
all sorts of layers. Warm up, peel them off, whatever you need. Um,
Well, that's wow. I'm gonna have to spend some time this weekend digging this stuff out. Okay.
yeah.
Um, yeah, it just turned cold here, so we're starting the hoodies and stuff.
Okay,
Um,
so I'm taking a look. I'm taking a look online.
mhm.
Next week, low of 40, high of 55. So 30 was a little much. It's not gonna be that cold. I was being
In the
dramatic.
morning, but in the mornings it'll be dewy and cold there on the Charles, and
Yeah,
plus it's waterway, so that's a whole other weather kind of feel
yeah.
to it. Okay, I'll be ready. I'll be ready.
You'll
I
be
have a
ready.
new. I have a. I'm ready. I'm ready.
Okay.
Um, so yeah, so head of the Charles is like that's gonna be like a pretty big milestone for us to do one of the biggest regattas in the world.
It's gonna
They
be
said
huge.
there's 10,000 competitors and something like 400,000 spectators over
Yes.
4 days is what I
Yes.
read.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
amazing.
the thing that I love about, Head of the Charles as a spectator, once you're off the water and just spectating, is especially near the falls launch site and all of the vendor tents. It is just like wall to wall rowers. Oh, I just had this flashback to the last time I was there and was very aware of being a short person. There were so
Oh,
many
yeah.
tall brothers, with like guys who were 6'6" walking in front of me.
Yeah.
Um,
That's the best.
so
That's the best.
so we've got lots of
Well,
plans. We've been sharing with folks about what our schedule looks like for the few days we'll be there.
yeah, and we'll be hanging out with the Concept 2 folks and the WinTech folks, so come find us and we'll be around. Let us know what your event is and how we can cheer you on. Light a candle, scream, cowbell,
Light a candle. I need to find my cowbells. I said that I'd bring them, and now I'm a little nervous I won't be able to find them, but, though that's on my packing list.
I may have to go to the thrift store today or tomorrow and look for megaphone slash cowbell. I'm
Yeah.
sure they'll have it. They always have that kind of weird stuff. Um, that's exciting. Okay, I just finished uploading the new episode,
Mhm.
which will come out tonight to our patrons.
Mhm.
And it's a good one. Sophie Brown, who's watching right
Mhm.
now, we are gonna go. You're gonna go down a path, a long and meandering and wonderful, funny path with Sophie Brown on the podcast that comes out tomorrow. And Sophie is a PR2 scholar in from merry old England, and she's coming to the Charles next week. So
Yep. That'll
check
be
it
a
out.
Yeah, that'll be her first time, participating in the Head of Charles, and, we can't wait to see how that goes for her. But the podcast episode I think is really interesting. It was kind of a wide-ranging discussion about adaptive rowing and kind of went in some directions I wasn't sure I was expecting, but I think it's a great, learning opportunity for folks who may not know a lot about adaptive rowing, and if you already do, Sophie's a super awesome champion for adaptive rowing, and she's got a great story to tell. So we hope
Yeah.
you'll listen and share with your friends.
Yeah, and it was really fun to finally see that person and get to talk to them. And then the bonus is we get to see that person in person
Yes.
in Boston. So what that made me think of was how there's going to be this really interesting possibility of talking to fans, talking to listeners, talking to previous guests,
Hmm.
and kind of seeing what they've been up to. And we know that a bunch of our previous guests have been really active in the coastal rowing events that have been happening lately. Last week was World Rowing Coastal, and then now is Beach Sprints. And
Hmm.
we just run down our podcast episode guest roster, and we've got a bunch of folks who've participated and are about to participate.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. I think pretty early on in starting to do the podcast, we kind of put our finger on the pulse of what was about to happen, which is coastal rowing. And I think we even did our first episode. I know, I'm pretty sure we did our first coastal episode before US Rowing really pulled together a team. And so in the last couple of years, it's really starting to take off. And the folks that we've talked to over the last 3 seasons are now at like the very cutting edge of US coastal rowing nationally and internationally. And so not most recently, but last week for the coastal championships, which is happening in Saundersfoot, Great Britain. Mark Oria, Ben Booth, John Huppy, those all three of those guys participated and did very well. Representing John was there with New Orleans Rowing Club. Mark and Ben are the founders of Next Level Rowing. So not only did Mark and Ben row, but they've got a bunch of rowers now rowing for their club called Next Level Rowing, who are basically showing it up for US
Fun.
rowing. And then John's wife, Hannah, rowed in a single, coming back off of injury. Um, Coral Kasdan, who we interviewed for an episode about coxing, who was a collegiate coxswain, got her
Mhm.
way into a women's coastal coxed quad,
Mhm.
and they
Mhm.
came in 4th out of 18 in their final. Awesome.
Wow.
And Coral, if you guys have not listened to it's called the Next Generation of Coxswain's episode. It came out
Right,
in
right.
season 2. Coral, like, really hit an interesting chord with us because 'cause we're basically both old enough to, like, be her mom, and she speaks a different language than us.
Yeah, she's a
And
Cali girl. She's a Cali girl.
yeah,
Yeah.
Cali girl, and she was like, "Everything's for the boys, and everything's hype," and
FTB. FTB for the
yeah,
boys. Yeah.
FTV. So it's cool to see now a couple years later. I mean, now she's several years removed from, like, undergrad coxing. She's, I believe, has a couple, if not 1
Mhm.
and 2 graduate degrees, um,
And
but
became a
still has
bodybuilder.
it. And yeah, she's a bodybuilder, and, so it's awesome to see now, that coxswains who are flat bar coxswains are making their way over to coastal. Um, and then I think last on my list of folks that you and I have talked to for the podcast, is John Olbreeze. And
Yeah.
we talked to John. Well, we sat John down with Akil Abdullah to talk about the Olympics and prepping for the
Yeah.
Olympics. And John
Yeah.
didn't make the Olympics, but he has segued over into coastal rowing and beach sprints, and he's competed this morning in a mixed double with a woman named Liz Hinley, who I do not know, but I will look into who she is and what her story is.
Mhm.
So it
If
was a
you're
pretty
just
good.
joining us, this is Coffee Chat. I'm sorry, I just saw somebody new joined on. But so
Yep.
if you're just joining us, I'm Tara. This is Rachel, and we do this every week. We just sit around and shoot the shit about rowing. We're covering head of the Charles, beach sprints, and world coastal past podcast episode guests and what they're up to now, which is kind of fun to track where everybody is. And one of them just competed and did really, really well at World Coastal Coral Cast. And I know we heard from Hannah Huppy. She was excited that we mentioned the coastal and the episode with her husband John um, and the New Orleans guys. Right? Was that
Yes.
episode?
So yeah,
Yeah.
and so Hannah went out and she rode a women's single this week at the championships, and she was coming off of injury, and I saw some video. She came out off the line, as they would say, because you can, like, run to your boat off the beach and hop in and go. And she was off the line first, and her race report said something to the effect that she basically held on to the lead for a while and then was in, like, the front of the pack for a while. And then she was really honest. She said she's making the transition from flat water to coastal rowing, and it was
Mhm.
choppy, and there's stuff to consider. And she was really honest that, like, she still has stuff to figure out about boat handling in chop.
Yeah.
And I think she ran into a couple people, and there were some penalties, and she ended up,
That's right. That's right.
yeah,
I read that. Yeah. But
yeah. So,
how
she didn't
wonderful.
win. She didn't
Yeah.
win. She didn't place top 3, but she said she had a great time and is learning a ton about coastal and can't wait to race coastal again.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah. That's really
yeah.
great. So where is beach sprints being held? Do you
So
know?
same place. The World Rowing Coastal Beach Sprint Championships is also being held. I believe it's Saundersfoot in Britain. And,
Mhm.
I'd have to look at a map to tell you exactly where that is, but I know that they've had some real big swells and chop to deal with the last few days.
Yeah. Well, speaking of venues,
Yeah.
I don't usually read the hello, welcome, thanks for joining us. Let us know where you're tuning in from. Um, I don't always open the US rowing emails, TBH. But this one I opened, I don't know why. There was something interesting in the subject line or whatever it came at. And I actually opened it. Not only did I open it, I actually clicked through to the FAQs about the regatta schedule for next year and actually
Yeah.
read it. This was
Yeah.
like this big for me, right? Like, wow, got that deep into it. And happened to notice that they moved Northwest Masters Regionals. Moved it
Oh,
completely.
to where?
So this is a big deal because we've always had it right outside Portland on the Washington side. So about 3 hours south of Seattle, on the Washington side, on this lake. And last year, and this has happened before, where the water levels came up way too high, and then
Mm.
also they have a lot of milfoil, that they're trying to not they have to get rid of in order for us to be there.
Okay.
And it's a huge lake. And so there's environmental concerns. And then the water level got really, really high again last year, and then it left E. coli. So it was really they canceled regionals like the week before this last year. It was really bad.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
So they decided to move it to the Dexter Reservoir,
Okay.
which is really far. It's in a town called Lowell, Oregon.
Okay.
It's not easily accessible by airplane.
Mm.
If you flew to Seattle for it from California, say for instance, if someone flew from San Diego, you would probably be better off driving from San Diego, because
Mhm.
you would get to Seattle and then you drive another like 5 hours,
Oh.
down to. It's really out there.
Hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, flying into Portland, I guess, would be all right, but it's like flying into a regional airport. But it's right outside Eugene, Oregon. Yeah, it's weird. Like, I've heard about this venue and I've heard that it's very dicey weather-wise, but I'm
Hmm.
hopeful. I think it'd be fun to
Yeah.
try a new venue. The other one that was interesting was, drum roll please, they took Masters Nationals to
Yes.
Indiana,
Yep.
bitches.
Yeah.
Kudos kudos to everybody who participated in that boycott.
Yeah, so the whole schedule seems to have shifted. So instead of Masters Nationals being held in August, they've bumped it back to July, like the second, third week of July. They've moved it out of Florida to Indianapolis. I know folks in the middle of the country are super excited about that. And as a coach and member of DC Strokes Rowing Club who led a boycott against US Rowing Masters Nationals in Florida this year, like, this is really huge that US Rowing listened to our concerns, and not just DC Strokes, but everybody who supported the boycott and supported that mission. US
Yeah.
Rowing listened to the membership and has moved their events out of Florida for the time being. I
Well, I don't know if that's generous to say that they listened. I would be nice to, okay, just for my clarity's sake, it would be nice if they said, "Thank you so much. We listened to you. And as a result, we took that into consideration for a move to Indianapolis."
Mhm.
This is very typical of US rowing. They'll just make the move. And it's like, if you don't connect the dots, people won't see that you're actually trying, right? Or are
Uh,
we supposed to just
well
be implied? I don't know.
well, I
I give
think
them
I
a hard time.
they do have I have not read it, but they do have, if you go to their website where the new, schedule is listed, it says, "Click here to see our FAQ for details about our decision-making process." Um, and you can also read Chief Program Officer Rich Cacciapo's letter regarding the schedule announcement. So I have not read the FAQs, but I know that you have a little bit bigger of a bone to pick with US Rowing than I do. I think that they are making it clear that they have listened to the membership and that they are offering way more information about their decision making than they ever used to, right? There
Mhm.
used to be the time that they would just say, "This is where it's happening." Like, they didn't say, "This is why. These are the reasons we've chosen to hold the regattas where we're hosting them." It was just like, "Here's a schedule, show up."
Yeah.
And now they're really like, "We know that you care and we know that you have things to say, and you're going to rake us over the coals if we don't tell you why we've made the
Mhm.
decisions we have." So I would click on that little section right there that says, "Click here to see our FAQs." I agree with you though, Tara. I don't think I've seen US Rowing or heard US Rowing specifically say, "We heard DC Strokes concerns about US Rowing hosting events in Florida while the Don't Say Gay legislation stands. And therefore, we have like, that statement has never come out from US Rowing.
Mhm. Yeah, and I don't know if it will.
Yeah.
I think that they're in a position where I don't know. I can never figure out if they're on offense or defense or some combination. This is
Mhm.
a nice offensive move in terms of being a positive move forward. It's a change. Um, but it's just nice, I think. Those people from DC Strokes and from East Bay, everybody, they put a lot of effort and time into those boycotts and a lot of personal vulnerability into those kinds of posts about how meaningful it was to boycott it or how harmful it was to go forward with it. And I just think I don't know that those people got acknowledged enough, and they got
Mm.
sort of this the come full circle, you know? I mean, I don't know anything about Indiana's politics, but I would
Yeah.
imagine it's better than Florida, you know?
Mm. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's true too. I don't really know about the politics in Indiana, but that's exactly what my husband said too. He was like, "Is Indiana any better?" But I'm assuming that US Rowing has done its research, to make sure that every place that they're hosting regattas in 2023 and 24 are places that are open and welcoming to all sorts of folks. Um, I also, Tara, wanted to look at the 2024 schedule because did you see this at the very bottom? There is not a US Rowing Masters Nationals. Instead, they're hosting a 10-day event called Row Fest Summer Championships.
What?
What? Yeah, exactly. So,
What is that?
apparently they are smashing together a couple of regattas that they normally host, and instead of them being a couple of different events, they're creating one giant event called Row Fest. And
What
that'll be July 13th through 21st, 2024. So I think
so
that's going to be a big change.
what are they mashing together? What is Rofest?
Oh, I knew you were gonna ask me, and right now so obviously it's Masters Nationals and something else, and right now I can't remember what the other event is. If anybody knows, if anybody read the email from US Rowing yesterday, it's in there. I can't quite remember right now. But basically they want it to be like this 10-day giant to-do of like racing and
10?
more. Huh? Yeah, the
10 days
13th
in Oklahoma? Who wants to
the
spend 10
thir
days in Oklahoma? God.
yeah,
I mean, no offense.
the last time I was in Oklahoma City for Masters Nationals, whenever that was like a decade ago. It was nice. I thought
The
downtown was
water is
nice.
brown.
Oh, I don't remember that. The
Remember?
race course was gorgeous. The race course was gorgeous when we were there, and the brand new facility now is a decade old. But
Yeah, I was there a few years ago for a para event, and
yeah,
uh, what was so interesting about that was it's like the high performance para rowing training center. It's one of the high performance training centers for the para team, and
yeah.
none of the doors were automatic.
Uh,
And I remember I was there with all these people who were like blind, had crutches, like all this stuff, and they were like, why are none of the doors automatic?" And like and I remember people being there were some blind people, some visually impaired people, and they were like, "What is this like House of Horrors, like Funhouse?" Because it's a modern building, so like walls
yes, it's
go
like
this way and walls go this
yeah,
way, and
that's
like
true.
they're like, but it is cool because they have a high altitude training room. They have endless pools in that
Yeah,
building. It's a pretty swanky building, so
yeah.
that'll be fun. Willow Art says Indiana's still a red state, and probably Oklahoma too. I'm gonna say,
Mhm, mhm.
you know,
But it's interesting to see that US Rowing is moving some things around, and like you said, Tara, it gets us to new places, like, if you've been around the sport long enough not that I don't always like going to the same 6 places, because it's always nice to travel, but I've never been to Indianapolis for a regatta, so
I've
I'm
never been
looking
there.
forward to
No,
that.
I don't even know if I've been to Indiana.
Well, you know
Probably.
what? Hold on, I need to think about this for a second because I could have sworn once a friend of mine from there was like, "We're the only, like, major city in the country without a river." So that can't be the case if Master or I guess it could be. It's not on a river. It could be on a
Wait, I'm
lake.
looking at a map. I'm
Yeah.
looking at a map.
But I
Maybe we're thinking
specifically
of
remember saying
Indianapolis Growing Center people.
yeah,
Uh,
but I think there's
uh,
no river there. I could be
Well,
making
the
that up.
Indianapolis Rowing Center is on a long waterway. Oh, the Eagle Creek Reservoir.
Oh, Reservoir. Okay.
There's a zip line place right next door to the rowing center.
Sweet. Let's do it.
Right.
Putting it on the list.
Yeah. It's on a dammed lake, says Michael Tutlaw.
Okay.
Eagle Creek is
Okay.
a nice body of water, but it always gets super windy in the afternoon. Yeah, that happened in Vancouver Lake where we had Northwest Regionals. Well, no venue's ever going to be perfect. Here's my
Yeah.
thought is that how MTV would like go to a city and they would set up like the MTV house or whatever.
Yeah.
We should set up the steady state house and we'll have like we'll get like a 10-bedroom house and we'll be like,
Real life Indianapolis. Yeah.
yeah, right.
Real world Indianapolis.
Real world Indianapolis. Yeah, yeah.
Oh my
Wouldn't
gosh.
that be fun? We could set up the whole
That
steady state
it's a
house.
it's actually not a terrible idea. I kind of love it, and we'll
No.
have, like, a couple of bergs set up outside and
Like, we'll get on Airbnb, see if we can find like, an 8 to 10 bedroom house with like a
Yeah.
pool and, like to
Yeah.
get the full thing.
Party.
Wouldn't that be great?
I
Yeah. It'd
I
be a reunion
actually
of
love
our
this idea. Yeah.
8. Yeah, let's do it. We could do reunion of all of our guests,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So, hey,
So,
are you doing anything this weekend? Do you have another regatta this weekend, or you have a free weekend?
I don't know what you mean by free, but
Well, I just mean, are you racing this weekend?
no, 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 no racing. So we actually put together a really hot lineup for their mixed eight. We're the defending champions of Head of the Lake and the mixed eight, and we have these two young bucks that joined the team, and so we're gonna put them in the eight. And I got 7 seat, which is really gonna be exciting, and that's on November 6th. So no regattas this weekend. Obviously, Head of the Charles next weekend, and then when I get back, it'll be that. I am going to row with that boat tomorrow morning for the first time, which will be really fun.
Mhm. Oh, you know what I haven't talked to you about, Tara, is you told me that you were gonna practice a couple mornings with Martha's moms in Seattle. Did
I
you do
did.
that?
I did. I did practice with Martha's moms, and it was transformative.
Really?
Rachel Lemieux is a dialed in coach who, and she was on our podcast. She is dialed in, and those ladies are your typical women's masters team. I mean, you see them and you're like, there's no way any of these people would qualify as stereotype of athletic. They are all shapes and sizes. They are little, they are older, they're whatever. That woman, I was in an 8 with this woman, Barb, who was stroking. That woman popped to a perfect 32 in like, whole pow, like that.
Yeah.
She just like, bam, and it was there. And I really, really appreciated the fact that Rachel, I could tell this was how all their practices go because there was not a peep of anybody in the boat. It was all business. It's very
Mhm.
dark out, and it was really kind of disconcerting, sensory deprivation.
Mm.
You're in ambient light with city lights, but it was dialed in. It was so refreshing. I was so excited. It made me almost think like maybe I should move back to Seattle and
Mm.
just to join this team.
Yeah.
But they have offered me a spot in their virtual training for the winter. So I think I'm definitely going to do that because I really loved the company. They were the nicest group of people. I would love to be able to like go to a regatta and like jump in a boat with them or, just at least see them and have a good time. So
Yeah. Oh, well, awesome. I'm really glad to hear you got the chance to do that. That sounds amazing.
yeah, me too, me too, me too. Yeah. So what about you? Anything going on?
This weekend, I feel a little funny because DC Strokes is heading to the Occoquan Chase, which is about 30-minute drive from here. It's a beautiful park called Sandy Run Regional Park. That's like my very first head race memory from 20 years ago is running there. So DC Strokes is going there this weekend, but months and months and months ago, before DC Strokes established its head race schedule, I
Mhm.
made plans to be a vendor at a different regatta called Head of the Chickahominy in Williamsburg, Virginia. and I am going to be heading there. You may have heard me talk about Head of the Chick or Williamsburg because of Tom Rooks, who's a head coach there at Williamsburg Boat Club. And Tom Rooks is a guy that we've
Right.
talked to twice now for the podcast.
Right.
He's amazing. He's very busy working with US Rowing these days, so I'm not positive he's going to be there, but I hope he will be so I can catch up and say hi. So Sunday, I'm setting up my vendor tent for the last time this season, and I love it because it isn't a huge regatta, but I am the only vendor, so it's a win-win. Like, I
Yeah, you're
have
gonna be busy.
a captive audience and nobody's shopping anywhere else, so it's fantastic.
Great. You're gonna be busy. That sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
tell
and
Tom Rooks
I'm going up
hello.
Saturday, I'm gonna be camping overnight, I might camp again Sunday night after the regatta and come back Monday, so that should be fun.
Yay. Well, I hope it's very successful and hope you have a good time. I have to
Thank
go. Unfortunately,
I
it's right
know,
at
yeah.
8:30 for me. I have a meeting to get to. But this has been really fun. Thanks for everybody for watching. This podcast is sponsored by Breakwater Realty in Portland, Maine, Concept 2, and Lake Washington Rowing Club. So give them a shout out and check them out when you can.
All right, Tara. Well, thanks for chatting with me and squeezing it into your busy morning. Thanks everybody else for joining us. It's also always awesome to have you here. I think we're going to see everybody who's with us right now in Boston. Can't wait to say hi and give you big hugs. Have a fantastic week, and we will see you in Boston. See you, Tara. Have a good one.